Guys, the Jake Ellenbogen channel. I'm Jake Ellenbogen, and I'm going to ask you guys a question. Are any of these quarterbacks in the free agency, the NFL free agency, are they worth your time? It's very simple. If you have Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Matthew Stafford, Big Ben, Deshaun Watson, well, if Deshaun Watson wants to play for you, you're set at quarterback. Any quarterback like that. But I'm doing a top five. We're going to be doing a series here on the channel. It's going to be the top 5 unrestricted free agents, and we're going to start off with the quarterbacks and work our way through running backs, wide receivers, tight ends, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, linebackers, edge defenders, corners, safeties, and we're not going to do kickers and punters because I don't scout kickers and punters, simply put. So we're going to do free agents. We'll be doing a bunch of draft stuff, but I did want to, bring up free agents here. It's very interesting because, this time period, it's coming up and, sooner or later, these players are going to move and they're going to go to different teams. So we'll start off with our honorable mentions here at the quarterback position. Joshua Dobbs, I find pretty interesting. He's gone from the Pittsburgh Steelers, originally drafted at Tennessee. Guy is so intelligent off the field with his it's like rocket science. I think he's into. So he's super intelligent. He got drafted by the Steelers, never really had an opportunity to grow with them. Then was traded to the Jaguars, and then he came back to the Steelers. So Dobbs is somebody who is 26 years old. He still has a lot of football left to play. Dual threat quarterback, somebody that if you're willing to go out and get a guy, kind of like a reclamation project, you think maybe the Steelers or the Jaguars didn't do a good enough job of developing him, then he's 26, he's mobile. He might be a guy that you might want to go after, a guy that, a developmental quarterback. I think further and further along, as I've said, the young quarterback ecosystem in the NFL is dying, or rather dead at this point. I feel like players like Joshua Dobbs have an opportunity to find their niche somewhere else. And, unfortunately, he didn't find it with the Steelers or the Jaguars, but perhaps it's out there. So that's an honorable mention for you. Brandon Allen at 29 years old wasn't amazing this year by any stretch, but wasn't bad. And I thought, you saw some good things out of him with the, Zach Taylor offense. He came in and started in relief for the injured Joe Burrow. And I saw some things I liked on film. I don't think he's going to move the needle as a starting quarterback or franchise quarterback, but as a spot starter at 29 years old, developmental is kind of out the window. But you get a guy that can kind of do it all as a pocket passer, but can also move out of the pocket and work off script. Again, he's not going to move the needle, but you want a backup quarterback. I think he's a pretty solid option there. Tyrod Taylor, 32 years old. He was supposed to be the starter for the Chargers, and the the Chargers. I shouldn't be laughing about it because it is really unfortunate for Tyrod, and I'm a big fan of his game. But unfortunately, the training staff or the Chargers, they punctured his lung, I believe. He got a cortisone shot, and they punctured his lung with the shot. Something along those lines. But anyway, Tyrod Taylor was supposed to start, and then he had that happen. And then, as we know, history wrote itself as Justin Herbert emerging. He was going to start anyway. So Tyrod is looking for another job. I doubt, and I think he would be rather insane to go back to the Chargers, the same team that injured him and pretty much put him on the shelf, gave him no opportunity to defend his starting job. So Tyrod becomes an interesting option. Again, dual threat quarterback. If Hard Knocks had any indicator, this guy was outplaying Justin Herbert in practice. He's somebody that I think can spot start. Again, being 32 years old, the developmental quarterback is out the window. This is a guy you're bringing in to be a backup quarterback or start if you're drafting a rookie. I like Tyrod, and he's very coachable. I would expect he could end up going to the Lions to back up Jared Goff and team up with Anthony Lynn. He followed Anthony Lynn over from the Bills, so I wouldn't be surprised if that ends up happening. And I like the fit. He'd be a nice backup to Jared Goff in Detroit. Moving on, though, in the honorable mention list, Cam Newton at 32 years old. I put him in here because he's a big name, and that's clearly the entire reason. I'm not a fan of Cam Newton. I think, whatever happened to him, he doesn't have it anymore. He doesn't have the arm. He can run, and you saw that. He scored touchdowns as a runner, but that's about it. So he has a role in this league. He's not a starting quarterback to me. The way that the Colts used Jacoby Brissett is the way that a team should consider signing Cam Newton for. 1 year, $1 million deal. Bring him in as like your Taysom Hill and use him that way. But I'm not using him as a starting quarterback. He's not that anymore. It was funny to see Cam Newton, his hope. He wants to, he would love to be back with the Patriots. We'll see if the Patriots would love to have him. Moving on, and we have two more honorable mentions here. Blaine Gabbert, 32 years old, just won a Super Bowl behind Tom Brady. This is somebody I find a little intriguing. I feel like he's not a guy that I would 100% have as a starter, but I think he'd be one of those like Ryan Fitzpatrick backups where I think he could come in and he could play better than a backup would, kind of elevate that play. So, I mean, again, if you want him to be your starting quarterback, that's a little ridiculous. But Blaine Gabbert, if he's not back with Tampa, he's a pretty good backup option. And they have Andy Dalton, who's 34 years old. A lot of people like him. I'm not as huge of a fan of Andy Dalton, but, again, solid backup. Don't think he's a starter at this point. He started with the Cowboys when, Dak Prescott went down, and I wasn't utterly impressed with him. So, those are your honorable mentions. But moving on to our countdown, number 5, we are going to start with Ryan Fitzpatrick. He's 38 years old. I know what you're thinking. Why is a 38-year-old in the top 5? Well, it's not a great quarterback class if you haven't guessed already. Ryan Fitzpatrick, though, is a true gamer that can win in this league. He is going to win games for you. Look, he was 4-3 with Miami. It was replaced by Tua Tagovailoa. Personally, I've gone out and said it before. And keep in mind, 4-3 as a starter, he came in and relieved Tua a few times and saved the day. But, I think I've said it before and I'll say it again, Ryan Fitzpatrick was the better option than Tua Tagovailoa. I understand getting a rookie quarterback going, but Miami was way better than I anticipated. Brian Flores had them playing at an all-star level, and they should have made the playoffs. And really, they didn't make the playoffs because they stuck with the rookie. Ryan Fitzpatrick, to me, put them in the best position, to move forward. And so, I that's how I look at that. Now, he's a highly coveted journeyman quarterback. I think he's somebody he could start. And it sounds weird, but I almost feel like he's getting better as he ages. And that could be wrong, but it just feels that way. This is somebody I feel comfortable with as, a starter for a team that has a rookie quarterback or has a young quarterback that's not like developing the way they want him to. So I like Fitzpatrick. I think that other teams are going to like him. The Jets could go his way again. Maybe if they want to, put him behind Darnold. If they stick with Darnold, the Broncos behind Drew Lock. I think he's an option. There's a bunch of places he's an option. He could even go to Pittsburgh, with Big Ben getting older. And I know it sounds weird getting older, so let's add an older guy. But the biggest issue with the Steelers has been when Big Ben goes down with an injury, they're done. Their season's over. I think Ryan Fitzpatrick with those weapons could keep them on a good pace where you could see some good things out of him. So I don't know where he's going to go, but his career stats, he's 59, 86, and 1. He hasn't had the best win percentage, but he's 60.7 completion percentage, 34,977 yards, 223 touchdowns, 169 interceptions, and 82.3 passer rating. So I feel like early on in his career, he struggled, but he's gotten a lot better. He has 13 comebacks, 18 game-winning drives, and to me, he's the go-to backup on the market and could start for a team that is looking to sit a quarterback or, either a drafted quarterback or a young quarterback early on to watch and learn. So that's Ryan Fitzpatrick in a nutshell. Again, he's not the sexiest option, but if you are a team that feels they just need a legit backup, I wouldn't be surprised if he goes, to Tampa Bay and backs up Tom Brady. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Moving on, we have number 4. This is a guy that I was pretty high on, a year ago, and that is Jacoby Brissett. Now, he's a dual threat quarterback, was captain in 2019. He showed out. He had a really good year in 2019, and then he suffered an MCL injury in Pittsburgh during that season and wasn't the same. And he played on that. He was replaced by Phillip Rivers this season and was used strictly as a sub-package quarterback, which I wasn't really too much of a fan of, but I won't hate on him too much for it. His career stats, he's 12-20, 59.6 completion percentage, 6,459 yards, 6.6 yards per attempt, 31 touchdowns, 13 interceptions, 84.1 passer rating. This is somebody that I feel, if you take his 2017 to 2019 season, he didn't play in 2018. But if you look at 2017 when he came in relief for Andrew Luck, I thought you saw some good things. You saw some potential. In 2019, he built off that potential after waiting an entire season to play again, and I thought you saw some really good things out of him before the Steelers game. He's a guy that I don't think has really ever had the weapons that, Peyton Manning or Andrew Luck had early on in his career. And if Indy wants to bring him back and build around, get him weapons, he could be a bridge quarterback, but I think he could be a franchise quarterback with the right pieces around him. He's not a guy that necessarily has to carry a team. That can carry a team, but he's somebody that I think can do the little things that bolster a team and bolster an offense. When you have a young running back like Jonathan Taylor, you have Michael Pittman Jr., you have that defense, you have the offensive line. They just need to add a few more weapons, and I think Jacoby Brissett would actually be the best option for, besides a trade for the Colts, but we'll see. Two starting seasons under his belt. Like I said, he improved drastically from 2017 to 2019. I feel like he's a sleeper starting option in this class for anybody that, missed out on Stafford and doesn't, say they miss out on Mariota, because Mariota, I think, is a trade candidate here. Say they miss out on Deshaun Watson. I think Brissett's a solid option. I don't think he'd be much at all. He didn't start last year. This is somebody that I would definitely keep tabs on. So number 4 is Jacoby Brissett, and he's 29 years old. So again, he has a lot of football left in him. I feel like he hasn't hit his ceiling. We'll see where that goes. We'll monitor that. But number 3 is a guy that I'm higher on than many. And he's kind of a meme in a sense where people just don't respect him, but I think he's been unfairly treated. I think we give too much credit to his offensive-minded head coach because we tried to paint him as, the new Sean McVay, and he couldn't be further from that. The quarterback I'm talking about is Mitch Trubisky, 27 years old. He's a dual-threat quarterback. He struggles with mental processing. It's no secret, but I don't think Matt Nagy's offense has done anything to alleviate that stress the way Sean McVay's did with Jared Goff. I feel like he's been held back in Matt Nagy's offense. His career stats, he's 29-21, so he has a winning percentage, of a positive, 64% completion, 10,609 yards, 6.7 yards per attempt, 64 touchdowns, 37 ints, 87.2 passer rating, and then he adds over 1,000 rushing yards and 8 touchdowns to that resume. He's got 5 comebacks, 7 game-winning drives, and he's coming off his best season, which he only started 9 games after being surprisingly benched while the team was winning. I didn't like that, and I felt like there was a sign of favoritism with Matt Nagy going back to his ties with Nick Foles, but I won't get into all that because we know Mitch Trubisky did his job. He took them to the playoffs. They lost, but he took a team that probably wasn't all that great and took them to the playoffs. Spotrac calculated market values at $8.3 million. I really like that price point. If you can get him for 2 years, $16 million, and be your starter, I think, like, for instance, the New England Patriots make a lot of sense for Mitch Trubisky, a guy that's mobile. You see what they did with Cam Newton. I think Trubisky's a better athlete than Cam Newton at this point in his career. Trubisky threw, I think it was over 6 touchdowns against Bill Belichick, so he's seen that the one time they played against the Patriots. He's seen Trubisky do that. I just think that's the best fit. a guy like that, I mean, there's not a lot of starting spots around the league that make sense for Trubisky, but going into Josh McDaniels' offense, obviously they need some weapons, but I like that offense. I like the running backs. I like the offensive line, and the defense is great. So that Patriots team, I think, would be better off with a Mitch Trubisky over Cam Newton. Say what you will about Trubisky. I don't expect him to return the Bears, but you got to give him credit. He has a winning percentage, a positive winning percentage. But despite what you will say about him and give credit to Matt Nagy and all that, I think he's been better than Matt Nagy has. And this is a guy that they traded up for. They had the third pick and they traded up to get him in the second overall pick with the 49ers. I don't think Trubisky's perfect, but I think that there's something there that if you go with, a Josh McDaniels, you could get something more out of him than, say, he just sticks with Matt Nagy. Again, slow mental processor, but his ability to work off script and, his ability to, get out of the pocket and move. I think it's really important that you have that in this league, and he's got the mobility factor that really intrigues me for New England because they just kind of, went all that route with Cam Newton. Moving on, we have number 2, a guy that I have banged the table for, in support of, done a video on already. Jameis Winston, 27 years old, from the Saints. Look, Winston's a gunslinger, okay? He's a type of quarterback. He has no problem putting the ball in the end zone. He had 33 touchdowns a year prior. His biggest issue has always been decision-making. And, he had 88 career interceptions to this point. He's been working on that with the Saints. The way he put it when he sat behind Drew Brees and he decided to take that contract with the Saints because he had other stuff on the table, he decided he wanted to get a degree in quarterbacking. So he smartly, I don't think he's given enough credit for this, he smartly took the less pay to back up Drew Brees and set himself up for the future. I think it was a smart move. He also got LASIK eye surgery last off season. This is somebody that is willing to admit that he made some mistakes. I'm sure he's highly motivated after watching Tom Brady come to his team, a team that he was drafted by, and take over that team and win a Super Bowl with that said team. He has to know that that team was close to a Super Bowl, and he has to know that in some way or another he kept them from getting there. So, Jameis Winston, 28 of 42. Win-loss record, 61.4 completion percentage, 19,812 yards, 7.7 yards per attempt, 121 touchdowns, 88 interceptions, 86.9 passer rating. He's got 7 comebacks, 11 game-winning drives. He led the league last year in passing yards, which you would never know because he also led the league in interceptions. This is somebody that I think, is going to get better. One thing I'll always say in response to people hating on Jameis Winston is that Bruce Arians came to this team and instantly wanted to go air raid. He's a no risk it, no biscuit type of guy. So you saw Tom Brady have success. He had 40 touchdowns in that offense. Well, any other quarterback except for Tom Brady has set their career high in interceptions in Bruce Arians' offense in their first year. You go back to Andrew Luck, Carson Palmer, and now Jameis Winston. But here's the thing, is that Bruce Arians didn't really give him an opportunity to move on and start the next year and build around him. Instead, he canned him. Now, he got Tom Brady, so there's an excuse there. But I do think if Jameis Winston stayed in that offense with the LASIK eye surgery he had and the fact that, he was working on his decision-making, I think you would have seen a drastic improvement. I don't think they win the Super Bowl necessarily, but I do think they make the playoffs. That was a good team that Jameis Winston had a year prior when they went 7-9, 6 of which came down to one score. 2 of those one-score games came down to overtime losses. So I think Jameis is somebody that's ready. He waited all season long. When the Saints started Taysom Hill over him, I was really scratching my head. I was also pretty upset. I don't think Taysom Hill is a starting quarterback in this league. I can't stress that enough. And I just felt like Jameis Winston overall, he made the right choice. That's an offense you want to go to in Sean Payton's offense. You want to go and be able to throw to guys like Michael Thomas and have a guy like Alvin Kamara to help you out in that offensive line and the defense. They're a very well put together team. Now, they're way over the cap, but even still, Jameis Winston is expected to be the Saints starting quarterback in 2021. Drew Brees was caught on TV during the game against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in the playoffs, mouthing the words, basically, you're going to be you're the next man up. This is your job next year, to kind of paraphrase or, translate. So, big fan of Jameis. He comes in number 2 on this list, but he probably is going to be coming back to the Saints. So, number 1 is kind of unfortunate because he's clearly number 1. He's my 6th overall quarterback in the entire league. He's a guy that I gave a lot of crap to, always thought he was overrated, and then I finally started watching more film on him, and I watched as he slowly got better, as the other guys got worse in his draft class. You know who I'm talking about. That is Dak Prescott, 27 years old. This is somebody, look, he was on pace for 6,000 yards before he suffered a season-ending injury. Dual-threat quarterback that's improved every single year. He's a 42-27 career win-loss record, 66 completion percentage, 17,634 yards, 7.7 yards per attempt, 106 touchdowns, 40 interceptions, 97.3 passer rating, 9 comebacks, 15 game-winning drives. He's a true franchise quarterback. He's a 2-time Pro Bowler, former Offensive Rookie of the Year, and unfortunately he's expected to be franchise tagged by Dallas. I'm hoping this man gets paid. He's really poured his heart and soul into Dallas. He's proven that he wasn't just a product of their offensive line like Ezekiel Elliott. He continues to raise the level of expectations his way. He continues to get better. You can say what you will about the 3 receivers he has in Gallup, in Lamb, and of course in Amari Cooper, but at the end of the day, I don't really care about that. I see what he does on film, just looking simply just simple things like looking off a defender and, basically manipulating the pocket and, working his way outside and, making plays on the run. Just his way. He's a quick processor. He's got a quick trigger. He's a gunslinger. He can run. I mean, this guy has it all. So if you're looking for a quarterback that, a true franchise quarterback, you go out and you when you find that, you sign that guy. Spotrac has a calculated market value of $36.8 million. Personally, I think Dak is worth over $40 million. He's coming off a season-ending injury. The Dallas Cowboys still have not signed him long-term. They need to do that. Simply put, they need to do that. Again, he's expected to be franchise tagged by Dallas. I'm sure he's tired of the BS. So we'll see how that goes. But that's the list, folks. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll be coming back to you again real shortly with the running backs. We're just going to keep going through this. It's going to be a lot of fun. I enjoy doing these videos, give you guys kind of an inside scoop on the free agency class, in my opinion on it. Personally, I don't think that if you need a starting quarterback and Dak Prescott isn't available, Jameis Winston doesn't appear to be available, Mitch Trubisky, Jacoby Brissett, I don't think they're bad options, but you really need to know where you are as a football team. If you're trying to win now, Trubisky and Brissett aren't going to do that for you. They can win you games if your goal is to make the playoffs. They cannot go and carry you to a Super Bowl. So if you're that close, and I would suggest your team to go out and maybe trade for a Russell Wilson if possible. Maybe try and negotiate a trade for Dak Prescott. Maybe even Derek Carr. I don't know if those guys are all available, but I would be going after guys like that. I will say I like Marcus Mariota the most out of anybody on this list except for Dak as a trade option. I think he'd be relatively cheap. I think we saw it this past year when he came in relief for Derek Carr. The guy still has it. He dealt with a lot of injuries because Mike Mularkey was, notorious for playing him no matter how hurt Mariota was and no matter how immobile he became from the injury. He's healthy now. He's ready to be that dual threat quarterback. And this guy is still, under 29 years old, so he can still be a franchise quarterback, I think. I know there's a lot of buzz about Washington getting him, and if that's the case, I think they are a quarterback away. I think Mariota's mobility creates a lot of mismatches. I think they're by far the favorite to win that division. Because as great as Dak is, if the Cowboys, tag him, they're going to have to pay him a lot of money. And, well, they're going to have to pay him a lot of money anyway if they want to keep him. But they do not have a great defense, and that has been their biggest downfall. So, again, if you want to go out as a team and you need to go out and get a true franchise quarterback, you need to win now. I don't know if any of these guys are going to do it for you except for Dak. But honestly, if you're willing to wait a little bit, develop, see what you can get out of Brissett and Trubisky, I think that makes a lot of sense. The honorable mentions, I don't see any of them being true starting quarterbacks. Maybe Josh Dobbs down the road, since he's 26 years old, has a lot of football left in him. We'll see if a team can develop him, but he'll likely end up becoming, a Brett Hundley, who, he gets an opportunity, doesn't really make do of it. But who knows? So that's going to do it for me. If you guys like what you heard, if you like anything that I said, if you like me in general, you can follow me at JKBoganDTSN. You can also subscribe to this channel. It really does help me out. Drop a like and hit that bell icon if you want to get all the latest. Anytime I drop a video, it'll be pushed right to your phone. Or I don't know how it works on like a laptop, but I think you can subscribe to alerts on your desktop as well. So I don't know how that works, but try that out, see if that works. But that's going to do it for me. Hope you guys enjoyed. I'll be back with the next series of this video, but we're also working on some other draft content. So this feed should be blowing up pretty soon. Thanks, guys. You guys take care.